I'm continuing work on the Summit project. I'm David. I'm in the home of Jeff Hutchins and his wife Betsy Hutchins. I'm in Leeds, Maine. Jeff, thanks for supporting me on this. I really, really appreciate it. I'm being serious. Yeah.
I think you've got a great project going.
Yeah. Tell us about your son.
Andrew, Corporal Andrew Hutchins. He was with the 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Special Troops Battalion, 101st Airborne Military Police.
Yeah.
He was killed at Combat Outpost Sabari in Afghanistan.
Yep.
On the 8th of November 2010.
Yep.
He was 20 years old. And he had a wife and a baby on the way. And we love them both. Alyssa is his little 2-year-old daughter now. And his wife Heather.
Yeah.
And he was just a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful guy.
So Jeff, tell me about this stone, where you got it, and what it means to Andrew.
Well, this one came from the dam pool at Grand Lake Stream. Today's Memorial Day 2013, and I got it this morning. Andrew always went fishing with us, or hunting with us, and we went to camps back and forth and up and down across the state. But Grand Lake Stream, he'd been going for, I don't know, 15 years or so down there with us. That was the pool where he caught his first salmon with his Uncle Greg on a dry fly. And this came from right between the shoal and the shore on the parking lot side.
Okay.
And one day, the last time we were down there, someone had taken and thrown a salmon up onto the shoal in the middle of the river. And Andrew was between me and the shoal. And as I looked over his head, along came an eagle right over the trees, and it came into the pool. The stream's only probably 50 yards across.
Uh-huh.
And an eagle makes an impressive sight when it comes down, and his wings in full, and his talons are out. I mean, you can see his toenails when he went by.
Yeah.
And he went for that eagle, for that salmon. And I'm like, hey! And Andrew looked, and the eagle came right over his head, and then right over mine, and then landed in a tree up beside us. And, well, this was some ways from right in that area where he was standing.
Right.
Where we saw that eagle that day.
So that's pretty powerful. So he caught his first salmon there. He got the eagle sighting there. And this is a place where he used to fish with you quite a bit.
Yeah, we fished. That wasn't the only hole on the stream, but I don't want to tell too many stories. But he walked up and down the side of that river a bunch of times with his uncles and I. And you know, we have a camp down there now, and I wish he was there.
Right.
Just his pictures on the walls.
When we do this project and there's hikers that put that stone in their backpack and they touch that stone, I want you to tell me what those hikers need to know about your son, who are going to carry a piece of his spirit in that rock right there.
Yeah, well, from the time he was a young kid, he would, when we'd be out and about, we'd see soldiers, and I'd shake their hand and say thank you, and he was always right there with me, beside me, and he'd say thank you too, and shaking many hands along the way. He always had a respect for the men and women in uniform.
Right.
And when he was 17, he signed up with the Maine Army National Guard, and then went active duty. And we're really proud of him. His quote from his yearbook is on the bottom of his stone. It says, "Pride is no sin. Always have pride."
Okay.
Which leads to what I had said to you the other day.
Yes.
Where said a soldier's parent lives with pride and fear.
That's a great quote. Yeah.
But we only have pride left. The fear is over.
Right.
And he was someone to be proud of.
Right. One of the stories that you're proud of and that really struck me, Jeff, was the backpack story when you went down to see him and you grabbed his backpack.
Yeah. This was where he was at Fort Campbell. Rock-a-sans, rock-solid rock-a-sans, and he was all that. And he was showing me his gear, and I went to picked up his rucksack, and I'm like, oh man, what do you got in here, rocks? And he said, no. I said, well, it's heavy. And he said, I got weights in there. Well, how much? He said, I have 70 pounds.
Oh.
I said, 70 pounds? That's a lot of gear. And he said, well, we're only supposed to carry 40. He said, but I don't want to do less. I always want to be able to carry my load,
Right.
whatever I got to carry. So even just on the ruck marches, you weren't even required to have more than just your one day's worth of gear with you. He'd carry the 70 just to be in that shape. So he was the type of kid that would always do more rather than less.
I think the hiker of that particular stone, the hefty stone that's right there, might need to keep that in mind. You think?
Oh yeah, they don't look as heavy as they are. A little
That's
bit of
right.
rock makes up an awful lot of.
Doesn't take too many miles on
No,
the trail.
no.
Yeah. So,
But I hope a lot of hikers get to carry it.
yes.
And get to think of him and the other soldiers from Maine.
That's right. Thanks for saying that, Jeff. I want you to tell the story too that you told me about how he went back early.
He had fallen off a tower. He'd worked a double shift, and we're changing all the netting and gear off all the towers around the outpost. Color change, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was raining. And he'd been up for 30 hours or so. He was on the 9th tower, and he was coming off the roof, and he went to step on the sandbags, and the guy was going to back his leg, and they both missed, and whatever. And he went over backwards, and he fell 30 feet to the rocks, and he broke his hip, cracked his hip. There's not much they can do for that.
Yeah.
Broke both bones in his arm, and crushed his wrist, and he had to have his wrist operated on. So he'd only been there about 6 weeks or so into his first deployment, and he was home.
Back in Maine.
Well, he was
back
to
home.
Fort Campbell.
Back in home, yeah.
Back to Fort Campbell where they did the operation down there. He really wanted to go back, and he worked really hard through therapy and through what would have kept most people home. I mean, he had told me, he said, when someone breaks their ankle on a run, he said, and then they're out, I'd give them some grief,
Yeah.
You're going to heal up, get back here.
Yeah.
And it really bothered him that he wasn't going to be able to haul his weight for those with his buddies. And he worked hard to go back. They wanted to reassign him to some later deployment with a different unit. He wanted to go back to the guys he had worked with, he's trained with, and that he bonded with. And when he got some messages from him when he got back to Afghanistan, he said that the morale was down very, very low. Mm-hmm. And they said, Hutch was back, and it really brought morale back up around the group. He ended up being the only person in his unit to be killed, and he didn't have to go back, but he really wanted to carry his weight. He
chose to go back.
He chose to go back.
Accepting people, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
Right.
Your color, your size, your shape. He was
making friends with you.
And
yeah.
In Maine, we're kind of limited in our ability to see a lot of different groups.
That's right.
And he, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to him. He was
That's pretty
great young fellow. Yeah. Well, he was a leader.
The other thing that it strikes me about Andrew is that he was a leader, but he liked to test himself with the ruck pack and to see what he was made of, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. He was a get it done type of guy. Always willing to help, carry more than his load, and do.
And his word meant something too. You told me the story about if he said he's going to do something.
If he attempted something, he was going to get it done.
Yeah.
And if he told you he was going to be there to rake the lawn for the school, or if he was going to help with the old folks home that day for whatever community service he worked at, he was in the Jobs for Maine graduate program at Carribeck High School where he graduated. He was a leader early on. He was a president in the senior year.
Did he have a favorite song that you play on the guitar when he was doing music? Was there a soundtrack?
Simple Man was a good one that we used to play. Yeah.
Leonard Skinner.
Shine Down, I think, was the version that he listened to.
Yep.
He would listen, you know, every guitar. They bought me a guitar when I was 40 years old, and then within 6 months we had one for Andrew, and now everybody's got them. We got a whole mountain of guitars. Heather's got one, and Andrew's is up there. So they've got a couple up there. Alyssa comes and dances too. Grampy playing some new songs, and
you still play a little?
Yeah, for myself, yeah. Right. It's a guitar karaoke.
Hey, Jeff, I'm done. This is terrific.